I see Abel is online. Butler,
Here.
Caravello,
Here.
Hirsch.
Here.
Looks like Jensen is absent and excused. Nino,
Here.
Reeves,
Here.
Sherlucky,
Here.
Schumacher,
Here.
Tillison,
Here.
Viano,
Here.
and Wozniak Scanlon is online as well. So we have 11 out of the 12 alders are here. And we are certified of compliance with open meeting laws. And that'll take us to public comment. Anybody here want to speak at public comment? Way in the back, you want to speak?
It looks like she's trying to be phased in.
Okay, just pictures tonight, huh?
Gab, come on up and say something.
She's not all the way here yet.
All right, we'll go to communications and presentations. The first one would be the introduction of the historical fact of Stoughton.
All right, for these items, I have to give a shout out to my longtime friend Scott Delarwell at the Stoughton Courier Hub. So there's gonna be a couple references in here, Scott, when you pick this one up. All right, so all the events in November. This one is from 1907. The ex-mayor O.K. Rowe and Fred Falk made an overland trip to Madison in an automobile on Wednesday, braving the keen winds and dust heroically. Also 1907, the roller skating rink at the Armory opened up most auspiciously Monday night under the auspices of Hiram Wood. Some 250 people being present and every one of available skates in use. And then the throwback for Scott to look up is to think about when the Roll Arena was around in Green Bay, so. Also 1907, a new water wheel is being put in at the Dunkirk Dam of the Electric Light Company, or for the Gen Xers, if you remember, the Electric Company. Then also 1907, every bottle is guaranteed. I think this might have been an ad or something like that. A compound syrup of white pine and tar cures coughs, colds, hoarseness, bronchitis, and all diseases of the throat and lungs. So be sure to, pick up a bottle of that. Sure, it's really tasty. Yeah. Pine tar, I mean, if you don't do that, then you can just rub it on baseball bats. So, 1947 now, Rotary Club members of Stoughton, Mount Horeb, and Madison had heard Professor Aldo Leopold explain how modern farming practices in Wisconsin are reducing game birds and animals which even propagation cannot offset. A housing group composed of 4 members of the city council was appointed to sit in with a committee appointed last week to investigate the possibility of Stoughton establishing a housing authority. So the origins of our housing authority. Police Chief Walker had reported that there was not a single report made to him of any property damage in the city from Halloween. And he said it was one of the quietest Halloweens the city has ever known. So I thought if Chief Jenks would have been in here, he could have given us a Halloween report. And last is the big shovels started excavating today at the site of the new Scotland home for the aged. All I got.
I thought maybe you were going to say they began the wall. All right. The next presentation is from Visitor Services. And I'll cue this up while you're coming up here. Just once, and when the light comes on, you're going to be good.
Okay.
And you can just tell me when to advance the slide.
Sure. Good evening. I'm Sarah Ebert. I'm the president here at the Stoughton Chamber. Before I started, I handed out this year's visitor guide, so please feel free to take that. we are already starting to work on next year, but I'll get into that a little bit. This is the annual report that we do on Visit Stoughton for the council to let you review what we did this year and then what our plans are going forward for next year. Just to give you a little update, you all know that we are situated now in City Hall. I think that's the last time I talked to you or was here getting ready to move there, and it's been going very well. We're settled in. The neighbors are nice, so I don't have anything to complain about. And I'm excited to introduce you to Sarah Slager. Sarah Slager is a long-term Stoughton resident. She's actively involved in our community. She is our new tourism coordinator. So that is for Visit Stoughton. So we have been able to, this position has evolved with the resources that we have and where we're at. So Sarah is a 20-hour position, and her goal is to get tours into town. So she is the tourism coordinator. And that's strictly her goal. Her goal is to go out and meet and work with our businesses, to go out and meet and talk with people that possibly would have tours come into town. She is right front and center when you come into City Hall. If anybody wants to know what to do for the day, she would be the one to jump in and answer all those questions. Because our tours are really starting to evolve. I can just give you an example. Well, typically, a typical tour for tour buses that come into Stoughton, they would go to, they would probably start out at the Opera House, and then they go to Sons of Norway for lunch and get a little cultural talk, and then go over to Liv Risa and call it a day. But we have so much more to have people get to see Stoughton, and the Norwegian heritage part of it is huge. We just had a group from Green Bay come in October, and they did those steps, but when they went to the Opera House, they got the information, the history about the Opera House, but then the Norwegian dancers came and was able to do a short performance. And then they went over to the Sons of Norway, and Nancy O'Donnell brought all these little wooden spoons and gave a quick little tutorial on how to rosemall them. So they got to do that, and then they had their lunch, and then the Sons of Norway gave a lefse demonstration. And then when they were done with that, they went over to Liv Risa to get a tour of the museum, and then they were set free to go downtown, and they just loved it. So putting in all those little extra tweaks, and then looking outside and, creating things people can come to do for outdoor activities. There's just a whole host of things for Stoughton to do. So that is the direction we're going in, and Sarah's going to really be help facilitating it. As you know, visitor service is funded by the room tax, and so that is what that is our income for these initiatives for visitor services. We do have a commission that we meet every other month, and the board that sits on there is Marg Listog from Liv Risa, and Jeremy, the city recreational supervisor, Ingrid McMasters, the owner of Spry Whimsy. Phil represents the city. Aaron Horswell is our marketing contract. We contract with her for marketing and advertising, and then we have the manager of the True Hill. So that's who sits on our commission. This year, you don't have any. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry, Mayor. You're absolutely where you are supposed to be. This year, I want to just go back and highlight the guides I handed out. This year was the first year we ever did this. We used to have a different publication that we switched and separated the chamber membership directory and the visitor guide. We switched and made it two pieces. So very proud of this. This is a beautiful piece. It really highlights what Stoughton has. If somebody's coming or even wants to move here, or even people that live in Stoughton and all of a sudden they have family coming to stay with them, it's a great piece to take a look at where you can go, what you can do. Like I said, we're starting to work already on 2026. We have updated our website has the same look as that. Actually, that has the look of the website. You can find all that same information. We just added recently a great calendar on there, and so anybody in town that is having any kind of event that would be considered like a tourism thing or something that people would want to come see, you know, go on there. If you want to know what's going on in Stoughton, you can sort by venue or dates or locations. There's a whole, it's really neat, and it's pretty, and it has beautiful pictures. So again, another really great thing that we are excited about. As we go forward here, there's a slide, and you had it in your packet, about the partnerships. Just to let you know what we do and who we partner with, we are very active in trying to keep a pulse on what's going on in Stoughton and seeing how we can enhance that. Again, the Visit Stoughton is bringing people into Stoughton. The term you might have heard is heads and beds. You know, we get them here and we hope they'll stay overnight. And if they come for the day, we hope they come back for a longer stay. So we have key partnerships with the city. This year we started the chamber in the city having concise messaging about the construction. So we'll meet with Brett, and then we'll help them pull together the information. It's on our site, it's on the city site, and then our businesses can use that information and just reuse it. So it's not each individual business coming up with their own best route or own reason why. So we have that all listed. We get that straight from the city. There's a new post that just went up tonight talking about the road that, I mean, for the new closure in state phase 3, how it's going to be opened up for this weekend. And then next week it will be closed down a little bit. And the goal is by the 5th, next Friday, then that section of the road will be completely open through the winter. So this weekend, they're just going to kind of push apart the barricades. They're not going to take them down. It's going to be a temporary asphalt or the first layer asphalt, so people can at least access the businesses because it's Shop Small Saturday. So yes, we just put that out on our website. The city has it on theirs. And so just giving the community knowledge about what's going on. We also partner with the Stoughton Fair, helping promote and co-sponsoring the fireworks. Catfish Music, we highlight all the musical acts. We work with Taste of Stoughton and Art Walk. And in addition to these events, and we, like I said, we have some key business players. And this year, a great shout out to go to all the beautiful photography and putting together the visitor services. Aaron Horswell with the Treyu Bastion is in charge of that. And also we have a really cool business here. It's called For Focus Sake. And that is a Stoughton native, Jack Wilford, and he does the aerial, the drone footage and some pictures too. He was huge in our Setting of My presentations. Okay, Mayor, if you could go to the next one. This, I think you guys are going to find pretty cool. So a few years back, I remember when we gave this presentation, you said, well, how do you know what we're doing is making any difference? Well, we were able to this year, starting using 2 location intelligent platforms, so trackers, to better understand who's visiting Stoughton and where they're coming from. And these platforms collect anonymous location data and from devices they have their location services on. So like your iPhone, watches, iPads, that location stuff is on. And they don't know me, but they know that somebody my age, my education, my whatever is visiting or spending so much money. So this next slide, if you see, this is just a snapshot of downtown Stoughton this year compared to last year. So we're up in visits from last year, and you can see through the months what the percentages are, and you can see the most people that visit our downtown are people right from Stoughton. And then it's from Oregon. And for the first time in a long time, usually it was like Rock County people were coming up. Madison is coming down to us. So you can see that. And then you can see down there, like I said, the demographic of people who are visiting. And the top profile is, they title Visitor Blue Collar Suburbs. And it breaks down there what type of person is shopping downtown. So this is just a snapshot. In this location service, we can do something as broad as people going to Man Park, to something as specific as somebody going to like the Opera House or SWAC. So it gives us a nice variety to be able to track. All right. Mayor, would you mind going ahead? So the next slide will show, and it's consistent with Stoughton, and it's also the tourism season for Dane County, according to Travel Wisconsin. Our tourism season really is second and third quarter. And for Stoughton, it starts out with Setnamai, and the third quarter kind of ends, like with our coffee break, August, September time. And you can see on here, Setnamai is our highest spike, and then our second highest spike for tourism is the fair. I mean, yeah. So that just shows about how many visitors in the thousands that come within that month. So you can see really where we spike. And then that's how we plan going forward. We take a look at who's coming from where, when they're coming, and then that drives our media and our outreach on who we are trying to get to come in. So we're really working very hard to be using those dollars based on the information that we're given. So the priorities, you can flip to the next one, Mayor. I'm just finishing up. Again, working on that targeting marketing campaigns to be most cost effective to get out our message. We're going to keep working with Sarah, and Sarah has already come with so much ideas about how to increase the tourism here to Stoughton. And we will, it's always going to evolve. What we couldn't do before, we can do now. What we did before may not be the best thing for now, so we will continue to work with that. A fun fact, next July, I almost forgot to tell you this, next July we have a tour coming to Stoughton, July 15th through the 19th, and it's the Teleget Leg Stoughton. 250 people are coming, so it's a Norwegian, Stoughton is a Norwegian word for meeting, and they have now set up, and they're in the process and working with Sarah, setting up different activities and things to do throughout Stoughton, so that's next July. And they reached out to us. So we got a lot to offer here.
Excellent. Thanks for being here. Are there any questions for Sarah?
Okay. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Are there any communications from alders? And I think people online, you can hear us now, right? Christina, can you hear us? How about Candy? Well, they can hear us, we're just not hearing them. Okay, that's the start. So we're making progress on that. A couple communications I have. I'll make it for Christina. So Taste of Stoughton has announced they're going to move their location from Nordic Ridge Park to Man Park next year in June, so we're excited to see how that works out. So that'll be one of the first new events down there, hopefully the first of many. I'm going to be at the Madison Area Chamber of Commerce. Looks like it's going to be the second week in December. They're doing a mayor's panel. This will be the second year in a row they did that. So it gives us an opportunity to kind of share our stories about what's going on in our communities in Dane County, what's going well, what some of our challenges are. Oftentimes there's at least county and state legislators there as well. So county board members will be there. Probably some of the state legislators, hopefully more than just Dane County, because one of the goals I have is really to spread the word outside of Dane County about all the great things that are happening here that should be happening statewide and is not. And I think that Wisconsin is losing a lot of opportunity in the area of economic development because people aren't paying attention to what's going on here. So that's what I'm going to try to use my time for, is to talk a little bit about that. So that's what I had for communications. Are any communications from alders? Okay, we'll go into the consent agenda. It looks like there's a number of items in there. I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Reeves, is there a second?
Second, Pilson.
Second by Tillotson. Would anybody like anything acted on separately? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Takes us to new business. The first item is R167 2025. And this is coming from Stoughton Utilities, and I always forget who's supposed to introduce that. There's two of them, you can each take one. How's that sound? So, our, he doesn't need one.
This is R-167-2025, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to enter into the Wisconsin Water Wastewater Agency Response Network Mutual Aid and Assistance Agreement. And so correct me if I'm wrong, Director Schaefer, it says mutual aid is something that other utilities have, other public utilities, so that if they have issues where generators go down or power goes down, that the other groups are then able to assist with that. When Director Schaefer took over, realizing that we were not part of this mutual aid group, there's no cost to to us signing up to this. It's just kind of saying that we'd be available to help other ones out. And, sounds like it'd be pretty good. Did I miss anything on that? Wow, I'm paying attention. And I do so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Schumacher. Anything you want to add, Adam?
Nope, I think you covered it very well.
Okay. It's Laker? Okay. It's all right. I just wanted to make sure we knew, because sometimes I struggle myself. Nothing to add to that. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. All right. The next one is also from utilities. This is a first reading on an ordinance.
Sure, if we're tag teaming tonight.
All right.
This is ordinance 40 of 2025, Stoughton wastewater utility 2026 rate adjustment to adopt modification to subsection 74-112, 74-113, and 74-114 of the City of Stoughton Municipal Code of Ordinances. And again, this is a first reading, and it passed utilities by a vote of 6-0 on November 17th.
Okay. Yep. Do that. All right. Anything you want to elaborate on that one?
Just like all the other rate adjustments, we're just trying to keep up with expenses, and so this is another way to do that. And I know Shannon is here, and she can explain it far better than I can.
So as you recall from our 26 budget, this rate increase is necessary, again, to keep up with our capital replacement program. We have the aggressive replacement plan for our sewer and water main. This is the sewer portion of that. The rate case that I did actually suggests that our rate should be much higher than this. But as you recall from the last couple of years, our goal is to step into that, take it incrementally every single year, so we're not burdening our customers all in one year. So that's the goal. With this year's rate increase, it is 14%, which for the average residential customer is about $4.96 a month.
Okay. And we'd be looking at a second reading then in that December meeting, which will probably only have the one meeting in December.
Yep.
Just so everybody knows. All right. If you have any questions between now and then, you can reach out to myself or Shannon. We'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Okay, we're going to move item number 11 up, and that's also a first reading. That one came from Public Safety, which is Christina, but I don't know if she can hear us. So, you want to introduce somebody? Go ahead.
I get two in one night, I tell you.
Yeah, so it's a first reading.
So this is the first reading of O-41-2025, ordinance amending section 6-2, parentheses C and parentheses D of the Stoughton Municipal Code relating to keeping of animals, birds, and honeybees. And the public safety recommended this 6-0 on October 29th.
All right, thank you. And I think this is one that Clerk Christian and City Attorney worked on.
So this ordinance it's very simple. The license for bees and chickens is an annual license, and the recommendation was to remove that to basically you just register once you have bees and chickens, and there's not an annual renewal requirement once you are registered. So this only removes the annual renewal requirement.
Any questions or concerns about that? So from a lost revenue, we just felt for the amount of time we put into it, we weren't really going to make any money anyway. We would still go out on the initial application and collect the fees and then do that initial inspection. And then typically if we get a complaint from the neighbor or somebody would add on to a chicken coop, for example, then we would go out and re-inspect at that point is basically how it works in practice. If no questions, this one will be back also at that December meeting. Okay, then we'll go back to item number 9, which is R166 of 2025. You want to do that one first?
Sure.
Okay.
So I can't remember when I think this might have been open.
With
summer.
some
we need to
finance
introduce it
earlier
first?
tonight.
Do we need to introduce
Yeah,
it
go
first?
ahead and introduce it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is our 166 of 2025 resolution by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton approving an amendment to an offer to purchase with GIP Glacier Marine LLC. This passed unanimously in finance earlier this evening, and I so move.
To a second.
Second.
Second by Schumacher. All right.
I'll defer to
Sure.
Attorney Mann.
So I think over the summer there was, the city owns about 2 acres in the industrial park. The Grossos put in an offer to purchase the 2 acres to expand sort of their business like incubators, those small areas that can be leased out. So they want to create 2 sort of larger buildings. That would be a similar concept. They have since requested to amend the closing date until May and provide an additional $15,000 for earnest money to keep the closing date open. I think in all likelihood it'll probably close before then, just because they were trying to get another property sold to finance this purchase, and I think that closed last week. So in all likelihood it would probably close before May, but they wanted to have plenty of runway. So this approves the offer to purchase and updates the development agreement. They would still, as long as they keep their construction schedule, generate enough increment to have the city get repaid on the utility and infrastructure investments it's made based on the assessed value numbers that we've got and sort of the timeline that's left in the bid. So we do have the option to go into closed session. The amendment is very straightforward. Like I said, just changing the closing date, and then the Grossos will provide an additional $15,000, which I think they've already written the check out to Lisa.
Thank you. Any questions? Alderperson Hirsch?
I guess because will be almost a year by the time they close, and that's, a long time. I mean, has there been any other businesses interested in these 2 acres that we might be missing out on? I mean, this has just been pushing along, not to say anything bad about the current business, but
We haven't had any other inquiries on this property.
okay.
I mean, it's still listed, but if somebody were to call us, we would say we're under contract, but nobody has reached out to us really since before even the Grossos did. We do have one other piece of property left out there, that 4.5 acre one. So if somebody were to call us, we would probably, discuss that property with them. And if that was more than they wanted, we could certainly, put them in a second position on a secondary offer. And if this one were to fall through, then they could move up. But I mean, If for some reason it doesn't close in May, though, I think that's probably going to be the end of it. I don't see you guys wanting to extend it for another year.
That's my concern, is how long are we going to wait to close? I mean, if there was somebody else interested, it'd be a different discussion. So I just want to
Sure.
make sure that we're not just being kind of played along until they have money when we could actually be making money. I mean, it sounds really cruel, but, you know.
It's understandable. I don't really know if it affects really when they were going to start or complete the project. You remember?
I don't think so. I think their original construction timeline is still intact. They're planning on beginning in the spring, late spring, so April or May.
And I think the additional $15,000 of earnest money got their attention. So, I mean, that's money that is tied up until closing. And if it falls through, they're out that money. So I think they're pretty serious. There was some pushback on that, but we held firm on it. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 10 is an update on the offer to purchase for the Mole Family Farm.
So we have put together a formal offer to purchase for that property off of Williams Drive, the 27.8 acres. We have the option to go into closed session, but basically the city would be putting in an offer to purchase the property for $1.25 million. There are very few contingencies, basically get a survey, an environmental assessment, and do some testing that we might feel is required to determine we can use the property for what we want to. This offer as drafted would have the city pay closing costs, and there's currently a lease that a family member is farming the land for. So the current owner's request is that the city allow that person to continue farming until the city actually starts using the land for whatever its future purposes are. The offer itself is fairly straightforward, but we have the option to go into closed session if there are any terms that the council feels that is worthy of discussion.
And I think the closing date was,
Early February, it's February 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so yeah, we had requested that to be after the first of the year because we didn't have any money budgeted for 2025. That was in the 2026 budget that we asked. And Lisa assures us that we'll be able to figure out a way to come up with the funds. Some borrowing method, I'm not sure what it's going to be yet.
So we're going to do a state trust fund loan with not knowing that the utility is going to purchase part of that property. This allows with the state trust fund loan, you can prepay at any time. So if the utilities were to purchase it, we could take that money, prepay on the debt. So that's why we're going with that. And then we can always refinance that into a future debt issue if it makes financial sense to save on any interest.
Other person Reese?
Just one, I think it was mentioned previously that zoning and annexing is going to be pretty straightforward. I didn't see that as a contingency. Is there any risk in not putting that in, or is that a given?
So the city controls that process. So the property would be contiguous to the city. You guys would control what the future zoning is. So the risk, I guess, is fairly low. I mean, especially given that since it's city-owned property, there's an alternative annexation process where we could theoretically annex it even if it was an island. So those are fairly low risk given that we're in the driving seat on that.
Any other questions? Or
Yeah,
comments?
the question, if we lease, say we buy it and the Mo family still wants to farm it until we build, what is the lease agreement? Do we have a new lease agreement for that family member?
Yes. So the contingency, basically we have to enter into a lease with that person. So if we don't enter into a lease, then we wouldn't close. So we would still have to negotiate what that actual lease says, and that would come back to the council for approval. But the lease would be with that family member. I forgot if it's like a nephew.
Ethan?
Yeah. That would be essentially an annual lease is what they have right now. So they have an annual written lease with him. So it'd be similar in that sense, but allow us to break it really at any time if we decide we want to move forward with using the property.
Are we matching the current lease, or are we gonna come up with our own lease based on
It'll-
what we know what leasing farmland is around in Dane County?
It will be our own separate lease. So we haven't even started like negotiating that, but if we get the direction to move forward tonight, we can start working on the lease and bring it back to start working on those terms.
I don't think it'll be dramatically different, but, you know, we might want to get a few comps or something, but as far as they're just going to farm it, so I don't think it's too complicated. Any other questions or comments? We do have the ability to go into closed session if you want to, but I don't know if we need to. Okay. All right, hearing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Motion by Caravello, second by Viano. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It was Viano, right? The second?
That was Vienna.
Okay. Any opposed? None opposed? That motion carries. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.